Hey everyone, so let's quickly talk about modeling deformers. Like every 3D program, we have deformers in Houdini as well, and sometimes we need them, so let's talk about them. I have a box here and also a geometry that's a scan from the Louvre. It's pretty cool, you can find it on the internet, and let's play around with those. The first thing is quite important, the bend deformer. And like the name suggests, is bend stuff. So if I press enter, you can get a controller and now you can bend the whole thing. You can also do it directly in the parameter window. Of course, up here is the bending. Now this looks a bit weird because the area is a bit off. What I would recommend is you just press B. It explains a lot of functions down here, which you should go through. But the most important thing I think is B, because it aligns your bounding box automatically. And also if you press B a couple of times, you can change the axes. And this is the quickest way of kind of finding the right start settings. That said, you can always change the capture length, which means the area of your bounding box where the effect happens. So if I lower this, you can see now the bending only happens in the lower part. And I can also manually always change the origin, which can be interesting, for example, if I want to change the area further up. The same, of course, is true if I just create another one for this geometry. So let's do this again. And the same happens again if I press B. Now it automatically aligns itself. And what I wanted to show you here with this geometry is purely how fast it is. So don't be afraid of using this for pretty high-res models. No problem there at all. And the same here is true as before. You can change the origin, which means, say this, the starting point basically, and then the capture length is what defines the area where the effect is happening. So we can limit this just like with the box, and here you can see you can now just change a certain area. Now another cool tool, if you don't want to use these manual functions, is you can use the set capture region button, and this allows you just click 2 points. And the cool thing about this is it finds the center of your geometry automatically, so you don't have to be afraid of where you point those points to. It will kind of align it in a reasonable way to your geometry. And this is pretty cool because this now allows you to very quickly define an area. For example, only the upper part, boom, and now I can rotate around this area. So this can be even faster if you don't want to do it manually. Now this is cool. And then what else do we have? With the bend deformer, we don't only have the bend, we can actually even turn this off, but we also have twist. So twist, as the name suggests, allows you to twist something, and we still have this area activated, so it only happens here. But if you press B a couple of times, just like before, it realigns the bounding box and gives you different axes in different directions. So you can, also rotate around this if you want, or whatever it is that you want to do. So the same rules apply. You can set the capture region, you can do it manually, you can change the capture length and all that, and all this still applies. So actually there's a node called twist, and this does the same thing already predefined, and actually the twist node is the bend node, just with a different name and different settings, or you just create a bend deformer and switch it to twist. Both comes out the same way. Okay, this is pretty powerful. What else do we have? We have length scale. So what that means is, let's press B again, and actually let's fix this quickly. There you go. What this does, it just scales in a certain direction. This might not be super impressive, but it can be cool if you have want to scale in a certain axis. So with a capture region, you can choose some really odd directions that you can scale along, which might be a bit more interesting maybe in the case of our statue here. Turn off the bend and turn on the length scale. And now I can set a capture region. And let's say I wanted to only, change the scale of his head for some reason, then I can do that. And you can see this can sometimes be pretty helpful. So the next thing is taper. And what you can see here, we can press B again to align it properly, is you get 2 controllers and it just tapers one end of your geometry. So it makes it go smaller. And you can change this obviously with this parameter. But what's also cool is there's a second one, and this defines the center. And here you can squish towards. And this can sometimes be really helpful for certain effects. And you can even enable a ramp where you do this kind of in a specific way. And you know, deform in all kinds of shapes. Then here is a controller for the position along the length. And if we do the same thing on the geometry, for example, you could change the interpolation type and then it's a bit softer. Yeah, that's not bad. Now he's a pretty buffed guy. Okay. Anyway, that's all nonsense. What else you can do is, besides the bend deformer, you can see the bend deformer can do quite a lot. There is a magnet tool. And the magnet tool is a bit of a special one, but allows you to do stuff that you can't do with the bend. And the magnet needs a very special input. So one, of course, is the geometry you want to deform, and then it needs a meta ball. Now, I don't want to go into what a meta ball is. Basically, it's just a sphere that has a defined distance to its center in form of a kind of special data set. And here you can see what's going on. If you just quickly let me move the meta ball so to the center of his face. And now what we can do is, relative to this position, we can adjust certain things. So you can scale, and everything relative to the center of this meta box get this transformation. So this is pretty interesting because you can do stuff like this, or you can do a rotate, which is also interesting. So the object is basically glued to the sphere, and let's move the sphere a bit to the side so you can see that. And then you only rotate everything that is inside or next to this sphere. So it's a pretty interesting technique. It takes a little bit to get used to, but it allows for some really specific area-based deformations that would be otherwise pretty hard to do. And it depends a little bit what you want to do, but just keep that in mind. If you have something like you want to do a specific bulge or something, or a specific scale relative to a certain position, then you can do this with a magnet and a meta ball. Okay, so magnet and bend, two very powerful nodes. We will use at least the bend a couple of times during the course. And for you, I think it's just a matter of playing around with it to get a feel for it. And then you can do quite a lot with those two nodes. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks very much. See you later. Cheers.